everyone, and welcome to another video of my channel. If I have any new viewers here, welcome, and if you're an old viewer, welcome back. I'm really happy to have all of you here. Today we are talking about the A minor piano concerto by Edvard Grieg. Edvard Grieg, that sounds so British. Edvard Grieg. And yeah, it was recommended to me by Acacia Quinn. I think that's how you pronounce your name. I'm so sorry if I got it wrong. If you want to recommend something for me, make sure that it is available on IMSLP with both sheet music and a recording that's either a Creative Commons type license or just public domain. Otherwise I will not be able to actually use an audio track in my video. It's actually a bit funny because my main association with this piece is actually public transport, because it's played on the light rail stop here in Bergen at the Hoop light rail stop, which of course is where Edvard Grieg used to live. This man is worshipped here in Bergen. Like, I've seen so many statues of him. Like, offhand I can think of like at least two, and there's probably a lot more that I just haven't noticed because he's literally everywhere. And I think he deserves that. He was a great composer. So let's start out with the opening, probably the most famous part of this piece. And of course it's the most famous because it is the best part of this entire piece. It really grabs your attention right away, and I really like that aspect of it. And I think that's how he intended it, just as an attention grabber really. But then immediately after he gets this amazing instrumentation in the woodwinds that I've marked here in purple, and I don't really know what's so special about it. I think it's that he makes it sound so gentle compared to the really rough and intense opening. And I think it's really the contrast to the opening that makes it stand out to me. And it comes back later, but it's not as obvious as this first time. Then after that we get this really nice and simple melody that's repeated a few times. And then we get the piano imitating the woodwinds from earlier, which I think, well, it's really great to hear the theme again. I think it's not sounding as nice on the piano as it did in the woodwinds, which is a shame because it's a piano concerto, so it's the piano that should sound the best, right? And then after that we get this nice melody again, the one from earlier, but with this show-off accompaniment, which it sounds cool, but I feel like it comes a bit out of nowhere. Like, the pianist didn't warm up for this, it just jumps right into it, and it feels a bit too sectioned in a way, that the way he jumps between the parts. Like, every part is really nice on their own, but it kind of feels like he's just shifting between the parts sometimes. And then after he's presented this opening with the very nice, intense start to catch your attention, and then the woodwind instrumentation part and the nice melody, he kind of discards all that and jumps right into the Hardanger fiddle. So Grieg really has a lot going on in his world for this piece. After he's had this first amazing opening with all the intensity and the attention grabbing, and after he's had this nice woodwind instrumentation with the nice little melody, and the nice melody he repeats a few times, after that he jumps right into the Hardanger fiddle. Grieg was of course inspired by Norwegian folk music, so the Hardanger fiddle's presence was not surprising at all, and I really like the part. It's really fun and playful, and it really gives off that Hardanger fiddle vibe. The only thing I don't like about the Hardanger fiddle part is that there's practically no build up to it. Like, I understand that he might have wanted it to be like a surprise point or like a sudden shift from the nice, kind of calm opening. But I don't think I'd pass that off in any of my own compositions. Now, I'm not trying to say I'm a better composer than Grieg, because I'm not, but I don't like that transition. Now, I've been rambling on for ages, so I suggest we do some listening. Let's start out by listening to this first part I've talked about so far, and a bit into the Hardangerfiddle part. I'm going to talk a bit about the ending of the Hardangerfiddle part, so we will not listen to the whole Hardangerfiddle part this time, but we will listen to the attention grabber, the opening, which I've marked in yellow in the music. We will listen to the woodwind instrumentation part, which I marked in purple. We will listen to the nice little melody, which I have marked in blue, and I've also marked off the part where I said seemed a bit show off in a way in the music, which actually accompanies a nice melody, a blue part. And then, of course, the Hardangerfiddle part is marked in green. Notice how the colors don't really overlap as we listen, except the show-off part and the blue melody part, but that should be counted as just a blue part. Enjoy! So, it's time to talk about the ending of this Hardangerfiddle part. Yeah, I don't really like the ending. It feels like it just kind of tries to transition back into this German-style romantic thing he learned in school in Leipzig. I'm not a fan. But, I mean, it sounds really neat, and on its own it's pretty good, but I don't really like the transition. And then after that we get this whole part, which kind of just reminds me of Christmas. It's a really nice and neat part, but it's yet another new thing he introduces. I kind of feel like he's not really developing his themes much, like he does it but in small pockets, right? It doesn't feel like he's bringing them back and like really working on them so far in the piece. So it's just we've been introduced to all these themes, and honestly I've been listening to this a few times and I can't really remember much of anything that's not the first opening statement, right? So while I like this transition into the next part, Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I like Christmas, so I like this part, but I could listen to just this part on its own in a way. Which kind of applies to every part. All the parts are really nice, but I really just want to listen to them on their own, like see a development, a bigger development of each of these themes that he introduces. They're really great themes. I just don't necessarily see them together. And now it should be mentioned I haven't looked much at the other movements, so I don't know what he's doing with these themes in the other movements, if anything at all. But from what I see so far in the first movement, yeah. And then we get this fanfare thing going on with some trumpets and some switches back and forth. I guess it's not much to talk about that, so I think we should just listen to this part and the transition from the Hardanger fiddle into this new part. So I will play from the start of the Hardanger fiddle and all the way down to the next special part I will talk about after, which I really like, so be excited for that. And don't skip ahead, you want to listen to the Hardanger fiddle first. Now, we are going to listen first, and then I will talk. Listen to this. Sounds familiar? Well, he finally learned that he can reuse some themes. It's the same theme as the nice woodwind part from earlier, the blue part. I really love this part, this entire part with the woodwind solos. Though I do find it interesting that he chooses to have so many woodwind solos, with especially with the piano accompanying them in the piece. It's a piano concerto, right? So you imagine that pianist was the soloist most of the time. But I kind of like it. I kind of like that he opens up the opportunity for the orchestra musicians to be the soloists. And it really works well in this part, so I can't blame him. Let's listen to it again, because I really like this part. You can hear it a million times and it will still be nice. After that he has this transition bit where he kind of plays a bit with the themes he's already introduced, and that is until he gets to this part right here, where he does this call and response kind of thing with the nice woodwind theme and the opening theme, and this is actually the first time we hear the opening theme again after we've heard it the first time, and it's really nice how he kind of combines these in a weird way, but it's not really combined either, is it? So it's a bit contrast focused. I feel like he could have merged them together in a better way, but it works, so I'm not really mad about it. Let's just hear that part as well, just real quick. Then we're back to the first theme again, before we transition into the Hardanger fiddle, and it sounds pretty much the same as the last time it showed up, so I'm not going to play that for you again, but if you want to listen to it again, just look up the previous part where I showed it. And then I'll be skipping a whole lot to the cadenza. The cadenza is of course a show-off part of the piece, so I'm not mad about him making it the show-off part of the piece. I really enjoy listening to it. It's really up to the musician to make it sound great. And I think Grieg leaves a really good opening for that with the material he's given musicians. I'm also a really big fan of the transition into the last part of the movement. And then he does this kind of exchange between the orchestra and the piano, which works out. The theme is another new theme, which kind of is a bit many themes in here. But it works out, it fits with the other themes, so I'm not really mad about it. And we get the ending here, which feels a bit like it comes out of the blue, but it works because it gives this circular feel back to the opening, and it reminds us of the opening. And of course you have to have a dominant tonic exchange for 100 years before you land on the final note of the movement. So that's it for this time, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this whole thing. And if you do have a piece you would like me to talk about, please leave a comment with a suggestion. Make sure that it is available on IMSLP in the public domain, and that it has a recording that's available for me to use. And make sure that I haven't looked at it already. And yeah, if you have all those checked out, then go ahead. Also, make sure that if you have not yet subscribed, I would be really happy if you did. Not a must, but it would really help me out, make me feel more motivated to do these. And also like this video, it really helps the algorithm a lot. Yeah, and I'll see you next time.